trying to do for real. For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep. Hi. I'm soul by funky. Hey. Soul by funky. Hi. I'm soul by cosmic soul. Hey.
What's up, everybody? This is Timothy Moore, aka the Clarity Doctor, and I'm here today to interview the most amazing, the dopest, the most creative authority figure. Author. Haha, you got that? Authority figures? Yes, author. No, I'm just waiting for y'all. I'm having a good time, but I'm excited to get to interview my friend, my boo. Something that she's so passionate about, which is authorship. So this is, if you don't know, and I want to welcome you to the Authors Authority Lounge, the official TV show for authors. And today, or whenever you're watching this, we have the founder, the director, the visionary, the birther. She birthed books, not babies, unless you call the books babies. Today, we have the amazing, the wonderful Miss
Takara Nicole. Yes. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. It's really cool being in this seat.
Yeah, being interviewed on your show.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I know you were a little anxious about me interviewing you on your show. And
Yeah.
because I'm a little extra.
Yeah, just a little.
Just a little bit, but I'm happy to do it though. Glad you considered me and you allowed me to do that.
Absolutely.
So we are in Omaha, Nebraska. You've been in Omaha how long?
It'll be 2 years coming up very soon. Yeah.
So I want to jump into that because and talk about the vision for authorship and what you were thinking when you were in Chicago and when you were in Illinois and God dropped on you to come to Omaha. Just boom, I'm dropping everything and to do stuff dealing around authorship. And just kind of the background, born and raised me in Omaha, Nebraska, and I have not seen much action or traction around authors, especially African-American authors. And I haven't seen many events, many things, just very sporadic. So something like this, a whole show dedicated to authors, that's amazing. So talk about what you saw and then once you got here to give birth to it and connecting the dots on that vision.
Wow. First, thank you for taking the seat and the role to interview me. I really want people to understand my heartbeat and passion behind authorship. And so founded Voss Consulting and Publishing back in 2019. I've helped 136 people today.
Wow.
Become published. Thank you. Yes.
136.
136 is the number today.
Okay.
And so really being passionate about helping people share their stories and getting that book outside of themselves. We all have a book inside of ourselves, but it's one thing to actually birth a book. And so my youngest at the time was 5 years old, and he wrote a book about asking for help. And that was a couple years ago now. He's 7, still selling the book everywhere. But the one thing that I really wanted people to understand about authorship is how it's a form of ministry. Especially when you are telling your story through the self-help lens. It really helps other people to come aside your story and to realize that they have a story as well. And it also allows people to no longer wear that mask where they're covering up and they're shameful of their stories. Or, maybe if it's a fantasy book that they're writing, it's that mask that they wear, like, I can't do this. I've never seen it done, so there's no way that I can do it. And so really coming aside people and helping them to understand the ins and outs of self-publishing and how important it is for you to birth that book. And so moving from Chicago to Omaha has been a challenge for me, especially because Omaha is smaller and Chicago is so big. But the one thing that continues to help me on this journey is listening to what God is telling me to do. And so, hence the TV show, he really told me it was something that needed to be done, not just for Omaha, but just as a whole. A lot of authors are needing a healthy platform to talk about what they've written. And a lot of times, people don't view authors from a standpoint of authority figures, but we are, because we're telling our story, and that makes us the expert.
Like we had the eureka one day as we were talking.
Yeah.
The root word of the word authority is
the
author.
Author, yeah.
You know, and so like you said, you're authoring a story.
Yeah.
And you're the expert in that story. So you said something that I really like, where you said that a lot of times they don't have platforms to talk about their book.
Yeah.
So giving birth, well, let me back up. Had you thought about something like this in Chicago, a show of this nature?
Back when Chicago, I started on YouTube, What's the Real Deal? What's a Car, Nicole?
I remember that.
Which is now here on KPAO. We wrapped up our first season a couple months back before we started this show. Season 2 is coming back, so don't you worry. And so I didn't think about a show for authors until I really started doing research on how to niche down as a business owner, and then what platforms are needed to really hone in on your niche. And so there's podcasts out there for authors, but there's not many TV shows where an author can come and sit and be interviewed and talk about their book from that perspective. And so when God dropped it in my spirit, I was like, hold on, that sounds like a whole lot. But then being introduced to KPAO and allowing for me to say, hey, is this something that I can do? And they're like, yeah. It really opened up the door for me to expand my mind around what we were creating. And then thank God for Alan Black and Nicole Lewis as we formed the African American Authorship Guild. Which is a whole movement for African American authors, not just here in Omaha, but from a global perspective. And so when I asked them, I said, hey, what do you think about coming onto this platform and being host? Alan was all day like, oh my God, I get to be a TV show host.
Right.
And Nicole was like, okay, this is cool. And when they actually got to sit in the seat, they realized how powerful and how life-changing this platform is for authors. Again, not just for those who are here in the Omaha area. So really understanding how we need this as self-published authors.
Yeah. You know, we talk about self-publishing.
Yeah.
It's just starting out on that journey, doing self-publishing versus, what's the other option? Traditional publishing. Talk about those differences between the two. I thought about self-publishing years ago. I did a search and I was like, man, this is some BS. This is crazy. It costs too much.
Oh my gosh.
I'm serious. It felt like it was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
It felt like a bunch of scammers.
Right.
It felt like, how does it cost that much? You want me to pay this up front?
Yeah.
And I don't get any immediate return on my money. So first, talk about the principle of self-publishing.
Sure. So a lot of people ask that question, and it's a really great question to ask. So what I teach my clients, a couple of things. One, as a publisher and as a coach, I teach my clients the importance of self-publishing versus traditional publishing. And I let them know that I'm a different type of publisher as a whole, because I like to teach my clients the ins and outs of publishing. Like, so it's not just a done for you service.
Yeah.
I'm literally teaching them, okay, this is the why behind what we're doing. And I believe, and I tell them all the time, once you know the why and we get you to the finish line, you won't need me, and they freak out. Like, hold on, yes, I will. So I call what I do from concept to published author. And so really helping my clients to develop what it is that may be a concept on a piece of paper, a napkin, or a journal, or in their phone, to what you see on the table, all these books that I've helped people publish. So that's just a fraction of them. I'm sure Aiden will get the picture here in a second. But it's really important to understand the differences. So self-publishing is just what it sounds like. You are publishing the book yourself. You get 100% of the royalties. Royalties means money. You're not selling yourself to the devil. Meaning you're not selling your soul to a company.
Explain that.
Yeah. So traditional publishing, you literally are selling, like they will give you the upfront money for your book,
Which a lot of people are so
which
thirsty
a lot
for.
of people are so thirsty on. But the privilege and power behind self-publishing is that your story is your story. So when you're working with a traditional publisher, they want to 9 times out of 10 change your story to fit the mold of what they're looking
Change
for.
their voice, edited it.
Change your voice, edit it, all these elements. And so when I teach my clients, I'm literally telling them your story is a form of ministry and it can't be edited. It can't be doctored. So that's why I literally work with a lot of my clients to help them to understand the power behind self-publishing and then teaching them how to monetize their genius and understanding how creating a book is the foundation to their success.
Wow.
Not to rest all of their soul and their mind in, I need to make all these sales from the book itself. No, it's the foundation for you to build beyond the book.
Build beyond the book, baby.
That's one of my services. So teaching you, okay, this is the platform, which is your book, but how do we really help you to articulate your voice beyond your book? And so that's where I will share this here. I'm getting ready to do my own podcast where it's the Authors Authority Lounge classroom. So being able to teach people elements of self-publishing through my podcast and bringing voices on that can assist with that, because there's so many questions out there. And so the traditional publishing route it's out there. However, you have to read the fine print and make sure that you're understanding what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of times you are selling your story to a company, which means you just gave them the rights to your story, your
Change
journey,
it, to modify it, to do whatever they want to.
Whatever they want to do with it.
So kind of then to choose between self-publishing or traditional publishing, it really is about what goal of the person as an author. Do you just want to think you have this great story, this situation that you think that if you put out there, you can make a bunch of money off of, and you tell it to a traditional publisher and they're like, oh yeah, you're right, this is a great story. We can do this with it. We can do that with it. We can change this and we change that. And then they take it and then they say, here goes $50,000, and then they run off and it's over with. Versus, I have this amazing, passionate, intimate situation, story, event that I want to tell. And I want to hold on to it, identify with it, and present it authentically as it is. Those are like your two different.
That's it. And a lot of times people perish for the lack of knowledge. Real talk. There's a lot of people out in the self-publishing world, and someone might be mad at me for saying this because this is what they're doing. Sorry, but not sorry.
Wow.
They're scamming people. People pay for my level of expertise. That's what they're paying for. That's the investment. And I'm literally teaching them how to create a book from start to finish. And then I also hang out with my clients about 4 weeks after the fact to helping them to understand these are the elements to build beyond the book. And so what's really important for those of you who desire to be authors out there and you're looking for a place to start within your journals. You have notes for days. You have elements that can be turned into a book. My website, I'll give you guys that a little bit later. If you want a free consult, I give those out just to really help people articulate their voice and understand what's the totality within this world called authorship. And a lot of people look at it from a surface perspective, and it's not. It's deep-rooted. And so one of the things I tell my clients all the time is, going back to vision, what is your vision? What do you want to do as an author? What are you looking to accomplish? And one of the first sessions that I tell my clients is, once you're an author, you're a speaker. And a lot of times people hate to hear that. because people want to hide behind their book. And I'm like, well, how do you think you're going to sell your book if you're not talking about it? How do you think you're going to sell your book if you're not on platforms? How do you think you're going to sell your book if you're not vending? How do you think you're going to sell your book if you're not doing something else with it? That's that whole build beyond the book.
Build beyond the book. That's
And
powerful.
so one of the things I teach my clients all the time is start a live stream show, start a blog. I'm not going to tell you all the tricks, but your book literally is the concept king or queen. Like there's so many concepts that you can take and build, but literally reroute it back to the foundation, which is your book. So I'll say this, not only is authorship my jam, but authorship has changed my life. I wouldn't have never graced as many stages virtually and in person if I wasn't a published author. I definitely know that because my stories are in my books, but they're also in my voice.
Ooh-wee. That's right. Wow, that's so powerful. Building beyond the book. What? Well, I guess let me back up. So, in that, what have you found some of the biggest issues that people have ran into with not building beyond the book? Why do people just sit after they got their book?
Sure. So a lot of people think that the heavy lifting has been done once the book is published.
Right.
The heavy lifting really begins once the book is published. Like that's when you're supposed to be out here and doing things. But I do tell my clients, like, what does being published look like for you? And so some people stop because they just wanted to create a book because it was on their bucket list. Or maybe it's just a part of leaving their legacy behind for their family. And so building beyond that is the speaking engagements, the podcasts, the apparel lines, the classes, the workshops, rerouting you back to the foundation that's the book, fundraising tools. I mean, there's so many things that you can utilize a book for that a lot of people don't. If you have a business, you have to have a book.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot of times where my one-on-one consult calls, that qualifies people to work with me, but there's the totality of what I give people that I'm learning that I need to just put in a book. So someone can just literally learn, okay, from concept to chapter 1. That's one of my programs, one of my challenges, one of my services, because that's the thing that really stumps people is how do I take this concept that I know that I'm sitting on, not doing anything with, but get to chapter 1. Because if you can get to chapter 1, you can get to chapter 5, you can get to chapter 10.
Yeah.
It's just that momentum of getting started and understanding the mindset that is needed to finish.
Gotcha. That's powerful. So talk about the workbook associated with a book.
Oh my gosh, that's my thing. I love it. So one of the things that I always tell my clients, I have one client, she super dope. She knows who she is. She wrote a journal, a book, and a workbook. And it's called Lipstick Confessions. And it's so deep. And so as you're reading her book, you can literally have the workbook that's going into that deeper dive than the book, where it's literally allowing for you to articulate your thoughts in a greater capacity, because now you have the workbook in the room to actually do that. So a lot of times when we're reading a book, I know for me personally, I still need a paperback book. I like the fact that I can feel it and I can do this and I can fold the pages down and I can write all over it.
Right.
But a lot of times, like for me, when I write my books, I give people a section where they can jot on purpose, because there's so much information that you're retaining when you're reading a book, but how much of it are you actually going to utilize?
Yes, exactly.
So people don't realize is when you're reading something or you're studying something, we only retain about 35 to 40% of that if it's not written to where we can go back and reread it and reread it and reread it, the repetitive portion of learning, right? And so that's why a workbook is a really great tool to be able to have that as a companion, to be able to, yes, you're getting the nuggets out of the book, but now you're taking it to the next level where you're applying those nuggets and can be, you know, writing,
highlighting certain aspects,
everything. Yes. So I've had people, it's coming, y'all, I promise. I've had people ask me to write the workbook for this book.
That's powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that right there. I mean, it's so the identity blueprint. I mean, and to not have a workbook because there's so many things to work
Work through.
when it comes
Yeah.
to your identity. And so
Yeah.
having a step by step, a 1, 2, 3, a
This
4,
one-
5, 6.
This right here, so I wrote this book in 28 days.
Hmm.
And I remember my coach at the time telling me, I need you to write it in 30. And I thought she was absolutely redonkulous for asking me to write in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wrote it in 28. And this book is great for anybody that's in a season of transition. When I wrote it, I didn't know. I was just following the instructions.
So it's transition. Unpack that a little bit.
So anytime that you are in a place of transition, so a divorce, shifting from one job to another, grief, just a sense of loss, and you're trying to figure out who you are again. Because situations like that, we sometimes lose who we are. So being able to utilize this as a tool, and I promise you guys, I'm not just saying it because I wrote it. I'm saying this because one of my really great friends, she works with those that are coming out of the military to transition into civilian life. And she bought my book because she supports me, but she literally gave this book to a client, and they ranted and raved on how this really helped them to understand how to shift and unlock their identity in a new season of their lives. And so we go through seasons all the time, and a lot of times we don't know how to shift. What do we take? What do we leave behind?
Yeah, that's alignment and weeding things out.
All of that, weeding things out. And so I'm not just the identity architect, just to say that, but this is the book that made me the identity architect. So, yeah.
Wow, that's so good. So let's talk about speaking.
Oh, yeah.
So how would one launch into speaking from a book? Some
I
of the
love
steps.
that. Yeah. So first step is mindset. Believing that you have what it takes to be on a stage. COVID has made it very inconvenient for us to be on virtual stages. One of the things that I know I learned personally was to believe in myself and that I had something that people wanted to hear. But when you have a book, you have a business, you have a product, you have a service, you have keys for days. It's, do you believe in yourself to unlock the keys to shift into a new platform, which is, speaking.
Speaking on stages, right.
Speaking on stages. And so a lot of people believe, oh, I need to go to Toastmasters, or I need to hire a coach to teach me how to speak. Again, once you're an author, you're a speaker. So believe in the voice that you've put in here.
Yeah.
So you can literally step on stages and articulate
and share that same voice.
Same voice.
That's a bar. Believe the voice that you put in here, and take the voice and speak it on stage.
Man, it's reality. A lot of times we limit ourselves to think that, oh, I'm just this.
To go from the
I'm
voice in the
just that.
book to the voice on stage.
From the voice, from the voice in the book, okay, I got you. Yes.
Girl.
Yes.
That's powerful.
It is, but it's real. I mean, I have no speaker training at all. None. I went to Toastmasters once and hated it. I was like, this ain't for me. It wasn't my crowd. It was a bunch of older white men who weren't even trying to listen to me or relate to my story. I'm like, this is a joke. And one of the things that I did, I'm sure everybody did this during the pandemic, I was a Clubhouse junkie. Like, it was Clubhouse by day, Clubhouse by night. I was in these rooms. I was creating rooms. It was Clubhouse. Anyways, so I was in this Clubhouse room, and this woman said something so powerful in the room that used to work with Oprah. Okay? She said she rather talk to the woman or the man that has a whole bunch of ums and uhs than the one who's rehearsed, because they're going to give the true, authentic them. And I was like, okay. I do all these likes and ums, but people can still relate to my message and my story.
It doesn't disrupt.
It doesn't disrupt.
I mean, it's not over. Like, you know what you're saying, and you have enough of a
Yes.
flow that the ums and uhs don't disrupt the message.
Yes.
So you do know when to cut it off.
You do know when, But
Like every other word is like and you're like, oh my God, will you please?
Right. But when you are going through our Toastmasters and things of that nature, they're trying to shift you to a place where some people aren't ready to go
Yeah.
or can't see themselves in that space. And so if you want to be a speaker, I would say start really owning the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
And realize that
It's me.
this is who I am. And so the coach who actually helped me to birth this book, she said something so powerful to me, and I never forget it, and I give it to my clients all the time. Give them you. And so that's what I tell my clients. Give your reader you. Give the person in the audience, on the stage that you're on, give them you. They want to hear someone that looks like them, sounds like them, that's not a bunch of fluff. So why not be your authentic self?
I love that.
You know, why try to shrink and shift and diminish who you are to fit this mold and that mold, where the mold that you are in is enough? So
That is so powerful. I mean, as an author, that is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're giving them you. When you
sure.
write your story, it is you, and
Yeah.
which is why people are so particular about it, and like, that's my baby, and people really get a lot of attitude,
For sure.
you know, around their book. Like when you critique it and edit it, man, people will feel some kind of
For
way
sure.
when you start picking apart
Oh
stuff,
my.
because it's almost as like a personal attack.
It is. And I have to literally coach my clients and say, listen, the sea of red is helping you. And I call the sea of red the edits.
Mm-hmm.
So the sea of red is your friend. We want the sea of red so we can literally walk through and see what it is that we need
Right.
to change,
Right.
because we don't want a book out there that doesn't articulate the message that your readers need and that you're striving to give them. So,
Wow, powerful. So y'all, we got like about 49 seconds left. So what do you want to share before we go? How can people reach you? All that good stuff.
Sure. So knowing who you are as a game changer, be committed to changing the game. And so that's what I'll leave you with. But you can reach me at yourauthorsauthority.com. You can go ahead and send me a message there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Dr. Takara Nicole Steele. You can find me on LinkedIn that way. I'm also at IG, which is Your Author's Authority as well. So those are the ways that you can find me. And you can find me on KPAO every Thursday and Friday watching the Author's Authority Lounge show. Yes, 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 we are present.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much, Dr. Takara Nicole, the Identity Architect, signing off from the Authors Authority Lounge, the official TV show for authors.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do.